When we think about the translators of the New Testament, we assume that they're looking at each word and rendering each word into English. But it's not that simple. Luke 2, verses 46 to 47, it was only after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were astounded at his understanding and his answers. Verse 48, and when his parents saw him, they were struck with astonishment. And his mother said to him, Son, why did you do this to us? Your father and I have been suffering agony looking for you. And Jesus responds, this is Luke 2, verses 49 and 50, but he said to them, Why were you looking for me? Did you not know I must be at my Father's work in my Father's house? But they did not understand what he said to them. Now, a little bit about biblical translation. Some English translations will translate what Jesus says in verse 49 as, I must be in my Father's house. Some English translations will translate it, I must be at my Father's work. And Father Lazarus Moore, whose translation we're using, has just done both. I must be at my Father's work and in my Father's house. And the reason for that is because all it says in Greek is, I must be at my Father's. It could mean at my Father's house. It could mean at my Father's work. And this is a good reminder, I think, for us. It's a good example for us. You know, when we think about the translators of the New Testament, we assume that they're looking at each word and rendering each word into English. But it's not that simple, because they're not just dealing with words. They are dealing with the context in which these words are used. They are dealing with things like syntax and word order. They are also dealing with things like ancient idiomatic phrases. You know, idiomatic phrases are these things that people say, and because you know the culture, you understand them. But if you're outside the culture, they don't make as much sense. So that's the other thing you deal with when you translate it from ancient text, the scriptural text, is there are different kinds of idioms that are used. A great example of this is in the Gospel of Matthew in the Sermon on the Mount, when we read in English translations Jesus saying, when you pray, do not heap up empty phrases or do not use vain repetitions. And in the original Greek, the word vain and the word repetition are not found in that verse. What's found is an idiom that doesn't really make a lot of sense at all in English, but that then the translators have to figure out a way of conveying the meaning of that into English. So that's, I think, a good thing for us to remember. So just like here, when all Jesus really says to his mother is, I must be at my Father's. Father's what? Well, the translators then have to kind of work that out and make decisions on exactly how to bring that into English so that it makes some kind of sense. And so in some cases, when we talk about inconsistencies in the text, this is not conspiracy theories. This is not people who got the message wrong or forgot what they were saying. But this is simply translators making decisions on how to render certain verses and phrases that made sense to the native speakers, to the original speakers or hearers of the text, but then you have to do something with them for them to make sense in English. So that's a good example of this here. Thanks for joining me for this episode of my podcast. If you'd like to learn more about Eastern Orthodox Christianity but can't regularly attend an Orthodox church, you might be interested in the Fellowship of St. Theophan the Recluse, an online community of Orthodox seekers and inquirers. For more information, send me a message. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, or if it's on social, to like and follow. Until next time, take care, and God bless.